So over to Mr. Vasu.
Hey, good afternoon to all. Thank you for all the support and encouraging our team to carry out this sessions. So, as you know, the theme of electronic design and manufacturing ecosystem in India, basically, till last week, we have been interacting with many of the partners who used to provide all the processors. So, the main topic was embedded processors, basically. And then today it's a interesting session by Arrow. First of all, I would like to little bit give. I think many of us know Arrow, but like the people who are new to Arrow, basically. So whatever the semiconductor companies we have discussed last weeks, basically. So whenever you want to have a engagement with those semiconductor partners, so you need a intermediate partner who have to support you with help, because not every project would be a big million pieces projects, basically. So you even for the million pieces projects, so the supply has to be routed through distributor channels, and Arrow has been world leading distribution partner. And it not only on the distribution part, Arrow has extended its technology and technical level of things by acquiring multiple of the companies. So one of the company you would say eInfochip, which is a Indian based company, more into the system designs and the VLSI designs, basically, has been also acquired. So Arrow has been consistently growing to provide the technology to the partners. So till today, whatever you have talked, either it is a TI or a NXP or a ST Microelectronics. So Arrow is the bigger umbrella where you get all these partners support. So whatever the design you want to start, you can very well reach to Arrow as a first level of support. If you have remember, many of the partners said like the first level of support will be done by the distribution partners, basically, and then Arrow is one of them. So we have been closely working with Arrow since our Indian operations, and I am very much thankful for Sanjeev sir. Sir, stage is yours.
Thank you, Vasu sir. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank FITech team and organizers for giving us this opportunity to be here with you today to present about opportunities in IoT applications and what role Arrow is playing into IoT space. A quick intro about myself. I'm Sanjeev Keskar. I'm Managing Director at Arrow Electronics. I'm in semiconductor industry for more than 30 years. I was country head of Freescale Motorola, AMD, National Semiconductor, and PMC Sierra before joining Arrow Electronics in 2015. I have my colleague with me today, Somsekhar Pattanshetty. Soma also has excellent experience into technical support as well as a field application engineer, and now he is heading a team of 35 FAEs at Arrow as a FAE manager in Arrow Electronics. So, now as Mr. Vasu was explaining, distribution business is transforming. We are not just a fulfillment partner, but we are more into demand creation. We are more into technical support, application support. We do advocacy as we represent practically all key semiconductor manufacturers. We do advocacy about the right platform which is suitable for our customer to make them successful in their end market. Talking about Arrow Electronics, we are a $30 billion US company. It is more than 80 years old company. We are present in India since 1994. So we have completed more than 25 years in India. I have a team of 140 people across 7 branches. Bangalore is our headquarters. And we are one of the fastest growing distribution company in India, supporting semiconductors, passive components, connectors, almost 70 to 80% of bill of electronic product as a one window operation for our manufacturing customers, be it a EMS company or be it a OEM company. So let me jump to today's presentation about the opportunities in IoT application. So first of all, let's talk about what is IoT. You know, we are into a operational technology where we talk about embedded hardware, embedded software. We talk about systems. We talk about engine development kit and operating system and software stacks. And then there is another world out there called information technology world, where we talk about World Wide Web, we talk about cloud, we talk about server farms, and where there is a lot of computing and processing happens. And if we try to really analyze, then the knowledge expertise what operational technology world has into hardware and software in embedded software is much higher, but the same industry doesn't have much understanding into a information technology world about clouds and about IT networking. Same thing happens with IT technology companies. They are extremely good into their domain, but they have a very less understanding about embedded technology, embedded electronics, and IoT is actually connecting all your electronic products to cloud or to server. And actually speaking, IoT is a conduit which connects these two worlds, operational technology world and information technology world. So that's how we at Arrow define IoT, and which is a very big focus for us because IoT is making world smarter, and it is connecting practically everything to the cloud, everything to the servers and World Wide Web. So now I want my colleague Soma to talk about what are the opportunities we see into Internet of Things.
Yeah, sure, Sanjay. Thank you. Yeah. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody, and I would like to extend a warm thanks to Vasu and his team for this opportunity. Yeah, as Sanjeev mentioned about the focus from Arrow Electronics is really getting big in IoT because of these many opportunities, right? If you really look at the gamut of opportunities are really humongous, and it's really growing day by day. And if you really look at this, the machines, equipments, and gadgets from home appliances and medical devices to security systems and smart cities, right? At Arrow, we can help bridge the gap between today and 5 years out. That is our the campaign going worldwide with the parts and pieces, the software and systems, the networks and appliances, the data centers and the cloud. So in totality, we are the people at Arrow who embed, connect, and build, and we bring it all together, right? So this is how we look at the IoT opportunities. And if we really look at very few, hand-picked opportunities where the really, huge, available market or the tenders are available. Sanju, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah. In home consumer, we have smart street lights, be it commercial or maybe the industrial street light and security, home security aspects and smoke alarms. So these are a couple of things which we try to address. Yeah, thanks. I think so. When we look at the opportunities, right, as Sanju mentioned, everything is becoming smart and connected, which is really giving us a lot of opportunities for everybody, be it from Arrow point of view or be it customers like you, right? You have a great opportunity for to participate in this and build on top of this. And in the same direction, Government of India is also helping us with lot of initiatives. Basically, smart city programs are there. And if you really look at in automotive, they have set a lot of new norms. Basically, in automotive, if you really look at AIS 140, that is really creating a lot of opportunities for vehicle tracking system and connected devices. Likewise, we also have opportunities in smart home, smart connected homes, and industrial IoT is also a large opportunity for us. And again, if you really look at in industrial, right, when we say IoT, we really look at the traditional energy meters are now converted into smart meters. So that is really again opening up a lot of new opportunities. Basically, if it can be the connectivity can be sub-gigahertz or NB-IoT, or maybe 3G or 4G kind of connectivity, right? And likewise in smart grid also, we have bidirectional online inverters, right? Bidirectional. So these are a lot of opportunities are coming in industrial space. And the last but not the least, I would like to mention about solar pumps. We have a big tender, already there from Government of India under Pradhan Mantri initiative. That's basically Kusum. So where we have a lot of great opportunities for everybody to contribute there. Yeah. I think these are nutshell. These are the huge, humongous opportunities for everybody to participate and work together. And we really look forward for your if any support is there, do let us know. So we are really geared up to support your all the needs. Yeah, I would request Sanjeev to talk about challenges. Yeah, thanks.
Hey, thank you, Soma. Absolutely, as Mr. Somsekhar presented, opportunities are enormous. Everything is becoming smart, everything is becoming connected, and we can have different type of sensors, we can have different type of processing, as well as connectivity solutions like Wi-Fi, BLE, GSM, GPRS, LoRa, Zigbee. And Arrow today has all the key building blocks to support you in all the programs which you want to develop. But there are some key challenges what we witness, which most of the small and medium industry or startups typically they are facing these challenges and which is affecting their success rate in their product innovation or product development. Which are those key challenges? So when you start any program or any project, frankly, you don't have a visibility of all the possible options you may have for developing that particular product, and also which is that platform or architecture that can make you techno-commercially successful in that particular project. That visibility many times most of our customers don't have. So typically, if it's a fresh out of college, some entrepreneur, he just go ahead with the platform which they have studied in their institute or in their lab, and then they spend almost a year's time or 2 years time in developing some prototype or proof of concept, and then they realize that their product is either not meeting the technical specs of the end market, or it is commercially not competitive in the end market. So to avoid that situation, Arrow can do really the advocacy to suggest you a right platform, because we represent practically all technology companies and we have understanding for which application, which platform is best suitable. So that's one challenge typically people faced in any IoT product development. The second challenge most of the startups and small and medium industry face is about sample support, technical support, as well as technical handholding. If you get any software issue or a hardware issue, you don't have anyone to handhold you or mentor you in resolving those problems, support you samples in a shortest possible time. So Arrow, with our 35 technical people team on the field, we extend you a complete technical support. At the same time, we support you on the application note or sample support. The third challenge most of the startup face is about the test equipment. Means if tomorrow, if you are developing something around 5G, then the 5G oscilloscope or simulators, those are very expensive. And you definitely need the infrastructure which can help you to do testing of your prototype. And Arrow is going to address all these three challenges. And I'm going to present how in subsequent slide. But before that, I want to really bring up a very important topic to all the audience today. See, when we talk about Make in India or manufacture in India, it has to be a design-led manufacturing or it has to be a high value-added manufacturing. Doing a manufacturing just a EMS activity is not really going to help us, because EMS activity can give you a value recognition of 10 to 15%. If you analyze the value chain of any electronic product, then your IP and technology that contributes almost 40% to 50% value of any product. Your component ecosystem, your display, your semiconductors, your passive components, connectors, PCB, all that contributes around 40% value of any product. And then the assembly testing, that contributes around 10 to 15% value of the product. Now, all of you know that we don't manufacture semiconductor in India. We really don't have a sound or even passive manufacturing or display manufacturing ecosystem out of India. So we miss already that 40% value, which is contributed by components. We have to import all the components. However, the point I would like to emphasize here is we have talent. We have excellent design environment in India. But today, challenge is that talent is working either in a captive design center of a global company, or it is working in design services company doing global projects as a services. But there are hardly local product innovation companies who are developing product, manufacturing product for India and export. There are a handful of companies who are doing product innovation and manufacturing out of India. So most of the talent is working, developing global projects, either in a captive center or as a services. So this is the biggest challenge we have, and to really address that challenge, we have to have local product innovation companies, some startups who are working into electronic space, and IoT is going to open up a very large opportunity. It's a next wave of revolution in our industry. Artificial intelligence and connected world is going to be a next big opportunities, and we must focus on IP creation, product innovation in all those emerging application, emerging products, so that we can capture design value also in India, at the same time manufacturing value in India. So in any product, if we are able to capture 40–50% value of that product in India, then that's really the game of high value added manufacturing, not just the EMS activity. And Arrow is working very closely with Ministry of Electronics and IT to address this challenge of supporting and creating successful startups out of India. What we are doing to address this? We have worked with Ministry of Electronics and IT as well as Software Technology Park of India, and we are setting up IoT Open Lab at Bangalore in Electronic City. This lab is going to be operational by end of July. This is a new building which has come up in Electronic City, and right now we are doing installation and commissioning of the test equipment. What are the offerings of this lab? So what we realize that there are more than 500 startups working in Bangalore alone into IoT space. There are more than 200 electronic product companies in Bangalore who will be doing innovation around IoT products or 5G type of products, and they will need testing environment. So we decided along with STPI to set up IoT Open Lab here in Bangalore, where Arrow is investing close to $1 million in setting up this lab. My application engineering team is going to move from my current office to IoT Open Lab in July, and they are going to act as a mentor to all the startups and small companies who are going to utilize this lab facility in their hardware and software development. We are going to do advocacy of the right architecture based on the technology companies which we represent. At the same time, we are going to, yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, let me continue. We will take Q&A at the end of my presentation. So we are going to have application engineering team who will do advocacy about the right architecture, right platform suitable for the customer's application. We will have sample data bank. We will have engineering development kit so that your proto development can be faster. You don't have to really wait to get samples from some online vendor or global vendor. And we are going to have test equipment which will enable testing right from sub gigahertz up to 5 gigahertz. All type of application you will able to do testing simulation into this IoT Open Lab. We have two industry association, TIE and ISA, who have partnered in this program with us. So that's a quick update about STPI Arrow IoT Open Lab, which will be operational by end of July in Bangalore. Now there are going to be two engagement models. If any startup or any small company wants to utilize facilities offered by IoT Open Lab, then there is one complete package model and there is one associate membership model. In a complete package model, one has to pay a one-time registration fee of 10,000 rupees and then extend 3% equity stake to STPI. And then you can avail the lab facility till you develop your successful prototype. And there is also an auditorium next to this IoT Open Lab where Arrow is going to conduct technology series, technology seminars and workshops in that auditorium, as well as hands-on workshops in this IoT Open Lab, which you will able to attend. And you will also get all the support regarding the technical mentoring. At the same time, STPI is going to support marketing and financial assistance to the companies which are going to engage into complete package model. The second model is if you are an established company, but you just want to avail the test equipment, or if you want to just avail some advocacy or some sort of equipment which is available in IoT Open Lab, then you don't have to give your 3% stake. You can just engage with IoT Open Lab as an associate member, where you again pay a 10,000 rupees registration fee, and you will get 5 free slots of 3 hours, and you can reserve those slots, and you can utilize lab facility for those 5 slots by taking this associate membership. And then if you want more slots, you can pay 5,000 rupees and take additional 5 slots for your usage. So it is like a pay-per-use model where an established company who really don't want to have a full-time requirement of IoT Open Lab, they can engage with IoT Open Lab in an associate membership model. So this lab will be operational from morning 9 to 5. So you will have 2 slots of 3 hours, 9 to 12 and 2 to 5, which you can avail. So that's about the engagement model with IoT Open Lab.
One more thing I wanted to say, you are rightly pointed out that in India, we have not been doing things on our own, design and things like that. But then the basic issues, what we are facing, where a company established in 84 and engaged in photovoltaic systems and also other related goods. So the problems what we are facing is that the young talent is not interested. I mean, they are more keen to go out and are more keen to go to mostly IT kind of work. And they are not interested in the core hardware work, which is important in today's conditions. And that's perhaps the reason why there are no products coming out. Everything is...
I agree with you, Mr. Joshi. Very valid point. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was saying that we will be willing to associate with the local engineering colleges in Bangalore, because we have to finally use the slots in that area. And it may not be so easy to locate somebody from Pune over there and then do that. So whether something like that could be possible, so that we could also maybe motivate some young guys there. And because I think this is what is the need of the day today.
So, Mr. Joshi, I agree with you fully on the challenge what we have, because definitely IT industry was at boom, and most of the talent was going abroad with those IT jobs. But now with the US restricting H-1B visas, everyone is talking about local employment. And at the same time, with world moving out of China, India is definitely emerging as one credible option for the industry. So I'm very sure the talent will get attracted. Frankly, our industry was not offering much strong opportunities. Those opportunities were either there in the global companies, R&D centers, or in a services companies. But now I'm seeing more than 1,000 startups which are doing variety of IoT application development in India, and out of which almost 50% are from Bangalore. So I'm very sure that because now there is a huge opportunity, talent will get attracted towards this industry for sure. And in IoT Open Lab, we also partner with two leading educational institutes out of Bangalore. One is PACIT and another is RV College of Engineering. Those two institutes are engaged along with us, where we'll be encouraging students who are passing out from this institute and have entrepreneurship dreams. We are going to do handhold to those people in our IoT Open Lab.
That's nice to hear, because if you have to conceive a product, you know there are several demands, not only in India, but outside India as well. But to conceive a product and make it to work the way to comply with the international requirements needs substantial deliberation. And in the process, fine. So we will be definitely in touch with those institutions. If you can give us the details, we'll call them and see what can be worked out better.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, just to add on Sanjeev sir inputs. So from FiTech, we have been also making these open sessions, not only related to or like related to FiTech or Indian ecosystem, basically to develop these all electronics and embedded products, basically. So here we are trying our best to make a neutralized platform, which is not only for the industry or not only for the academy, basically. So it's from all the directions. So the industry here we try our best to bring in two industries: the industry as a supplier, the industry as a consumer. So the industry as a supplier is more a technology industry, and the industry as a consumer is more a domain expertise industry, wherein which the company like yours, sir, who are into this solar business, I believe, since long, basically. So the domain expertise and the technology expertise has to come together. This is the major goal of this initiative by FITech and partners, basically. And then here at the end, it's okay, but like there could be enough engineering force, right? Like, so who has to take up the daily jobs and activities, basically. So here we also have been engaging a lot of academics over here. So that's how like we have built this rugged board as an open source hardware, which where we are trying to cultivate the passion. Many times we see that like people are not passionate, but like at the same time, if we really question out, how did we motivated as seniors to generate some passion in the kids? So I do really see my story when it is in 2000. I wanted to build a small power supply, taking a transformer and want to build a 5 volts power supply. It took around 2 to 3 weeks for me to really identify the diode part number, which normally you use for a full wave rectifier, right? Like basically that kind of, from that kind of ecosystem, now we came to an internet world. And then like people have, earlier it was a scarcity of a flood of information. So again, there's a confused camera experts and the guys, we also has to mentor them in a, so there are no doubt now startups, as Sanjeev sir has already told, we have been also personally mentoring a lot of startups, but also the college they are upgrading themselves. They are keen to know the latest technology, trying to push the right path. So I no doubt some kind of blame game between hardware and software. As the IT is more prominent in paying more, so always it is a choice for
as I was mentioning, in IoT Open Lab, our advocacy is will be in the interest of the customer success. See, Arrow being representative of practically all technology companies like Intel, Qualcomm, Texas Instruments, Freescale, NXP, Microchip, ST Micro, Infineon, you name it. I represent practically all semiconductor companies. So our advocacy is not going to be biased for one company. Our interest is going to be to see that techno-commercially our customer is successful. See, in this entire investment, what Arrow has done with STPI, our interest is to make successful startups out of India so that when they go into manufacturing, they will buy components from us. So our success depends on your success. So we will ensure that you are successful in your goals by suggesting you the right platform.
Yes, that is great. Thank you.
So Sanjeev sir, we can take another question. I believe Sachin question, I think it is more on how to help, or probably they can connect. The next question was, isn't IC fabrication club between the field in the field right now? Meantime, India currently does not have. So probably I want you to address, and then probably I want to add on after you, basically.
Yeah. So, Vasu sir, I was also chairman of India Electronics and Semiconductor Association, and I have worked very closely with Ministry of Electronics and IT. And right now, there are 3 schemes announced by Government of India with totaling 50,000 crore outlay. One is production linked incentive, PLI. Another is electronic component manufacturing scheme, and third is EMC, electronics manufacturing cluster. In EMC, they are going to create common facility centers for testing and SMT assembly. So government is quite serious to create an ecosystem for semiconductor manufacturing as well as electronic component manufacturing. There are already discussions going on. I'm part of committee of MITI, and weekly we are having calls to really brainstorm and discuss how to go about it. So I'm seeing a lot of focus is coming to our industry with this 50,000 crore investment coming to our sector.
Yeah, just to add, Sanjeev sir, I believe there is a small gap of like it has been since a long story. Say I would say even from my very early college days, I have been always really hearing this when the fab silicon fabs would be there in India. So. Again, like I just like to highlight a point over here, basically. So there are two things. One is your IP, and the second thing is basically the manufacturing, right? Like in the one of the slide of Sanjeev sir, you have seen the value addition. So the value addition of manufacturing of silicon. Again, still may be in between 25 to 5% of the value addition. The real value addition of your IC design would be still in your IP, right? Like today, like companies from outside, basically. So whoever you see now, the biggest semiconductor companies like TI, NXP, or any other semiconductors, so they hold the IP and they produce in most of the ICs are produced in Taiwan. So Taiwan is one of the biggest world chip manufacturing hub, basically. So sir, it is in really very hard terms, if I ask, basically keep the formula of your cake with you and outsource to any baking factory, basically, right? Like, so still you are the owner of the brand and the owner of your IP, basically. So, and the environmental conditions of India, at least right now, I would say it is not very favorable to put a silicon manufacturing system in India. Maybe like we have to invest a lot to build such kind of thing. Basically, it's not that impossible. But today, I believe it will bring us very small value addition with a very bigger investment in a country like India, basically. So I believe the biggest strength of India is more the talent. I know what is the VLSI knowledge or VLSI experts are there in India. So I believe we should constantly grow that expertise. We should focus on that. The only thing which is missing is now currently these VLSI engineers are working for the MNCs or the bigger companies who are investing on these resources. Basically, if somehow there are the companies or there are the funds which comes over here and say that like this you have to develop for India, probably I think the changes will come. So this is more for a IC fab or manufacturing part. So yeah.
I would also like to add a couple of points here, Vasu. Thanks for like the insight. So basically, like of late, we see a lot of companies are getting into end-to-end, right? Product ODM, like just to mention, Phytech is one of the like best example for that. So we see a lot of like companies are really venturing into that, and that is really going to help us or trying to differentiate us from our capabilities point of view. Be it like module manufacturing or some manufacturing and all that yeah.
Also, Vasu, as you rightly said, we have great talent. Means out of top 25 semiconductor companies, almost everyone has a captive design center in India. So we have world-class VLSI design engineers. What we need is a good, fabulous startup ecosystem in India, and we can leverage TSMC and global foundries and UMCs of the world. I think the more focus we should bring on ATMP, countries like Malaysia has really done so well with ATMP. So we should focus on ATMP, we should focus on display fab, we should focus on analog fab or LED fab, which doesn't require a $5 billion type of investment. And we have local huge demand, which can be addressed with a small investment, less than $1 billion into these programs. But you are absolutely right. We should focus more on IP creation in VLSI.
Yeah.
Mr. Sanjeev, this is Vineet. Can I ask you a question regarding the policy of the government?
Yes, Vineet,
Yes.
regarding?
So, I mean, so you were well said, like there's a lot of opportunity. So being a startup guy and work with a lot of tier ones in North America, I have like very simple question, like why someone go in India and start their own company, whether it's building a mobile phone or any vehicle tracker. The thing is, like, if you talk about North America and Europe, there's a regulatory requirement is very stringent. That's why you won't see a lot of Chinese phone there. If you have to launch a phone in North America, you have to go to FCC, PTCRB, GCF, all sort of things, right? And it takes an enormous amount of money and time. And they make sure whatever comes to their country, it's well tested and well proven. Whereas, like in India, you go, like you buy any phone, you don't know what the radiation emissions are, what the standards are, how the emissions are. No one knows anything. So what government is doing, to make sure not anyone XYZ come into our country and start selling their phone? Why don't government impose such kind of certification? And if you say like there are certification, but I know how these certification work. Unless like government strictly mandate these kind of policies like carrier certification or any kind of like government standard emission standards, I don't think, I mean, people will incline toward and start investing in India. Rather, like they will go to China or Taiwan, buy a like much cheaper phone which never been tested on any RF band or any SAR parameters. So what's government stand on that part? And saying, like, one example is I was reading a lot about this telematic trackers, like government has mandated there should be a panic button, there should be a vehicle tracker. And 99% people don't know where this data is going. Are these trackers valid or not? When government is not putting any sort of standards that should be met, at least. What government is doing, I mean, yeah, we all want to do startup in India, but at the end, like spending a lot of $1 million in these startups, people don't want to buy because there's always an option, cheap option like 100 rupees versus like $2,500 rupees equipment.
Mr. Vineet, a very good question. I think two things will drive people to come to India. Firstly, the domestic demand, which is growing at a phenomenal rate, means Indian electronic consumption is growing at more than 20% CAGR. And currently the industry is around $150 billion, and that is going to grow almost to $300-400 billion over next 5-6 years. So firstly, the domestic market is definitely going to drive industry to come to India. Secondly, to answer your question about the standards, every time the volumes really brings all those standards and approval, means specifically talking about the vehicle tracking telematic program, what you just mentioned, the government has come up with a policy called AIS 140 for this tracker program. And people who all the commercial vehicles have to have this tracker installed onto those yellow board vehicles in India. Now, what government has made it mandatory that any manufacturer who is developing this tracker equipment has to get approval from ARAI, Automotive Research Association of India in Pune. So they have come up with a standard, and everyone has to adhere and qualify with ARAI to manufacture this tracker for commercial vehicle. Second large opportunity I see in India is about smart metering, where there is a tender last year for 5 million 3G based smart meter. Now they are talking about narrowband IoT based smart metering. And there is a centralized authority called EESL, which is coming up with the tender specs and qualifying criteria. So you have to qualify those specs and standards if you want to participate in EESL tender. So that those specifications are definitely possible when there is a large tender by government. But if it is a private consumption, if it is a private application where there is no involvement of any government entity, then it becomes free for all. And then yeah, Chinese and Taiwanese and Koreans, they have a better productivity. They have a good chance of winning over Indian companies. So that's
Yeah.
what.
That's the exact point, right? I mean, like I start my company back in India with my cousin in the same space, like a connected car space. We made such a good product, and it's not only there's only Chinese product available in India. If you look into Teltonika has a presence in India, but they have very good telemetry trackers. But no one want to buy a Teltonika. They rather go like for any Chinese cheap tracker and with a free software version. The first hurdle of what we have seen, like people don't want to buy an expensive tracker because they don't want it, and there's no standard whether it is automotive grade or industrial grade or consumer grade. Then again, if you say, oh, you know what, we have a better cloud system, your data is secure, no one care about that thing. So that's the one part. And you said, like, if you aren't getting into the government, it's still tricky. Whatever government, any government says, we have totally reformed our system. It's not. If you want to sell your thousands of telemet device to government, you need to have somebody, right? But at the end of the day, you have your market, the majority of the market, the end user. And if you want to sell your product to those folks, the first thing comes to price. No one want to buy your 25 100 rupees device. They would rather go like 700 rupees. But the question is, why government is not putting in any restriction, any XYZ manufacturer comes to India, and if you talk about the BIS, WPC, or any kind of certification, that's the paperwork. No one even see like what spurious emissions means, like what's the output power means, like what band that. Oh yeah, you have all these documents from China. Okay, good. Check mark. Go ahead. You are clear.
So Vineet, to answer this question, we have to really go back to 1996 when we signed WTO agreement, ITA-1, International Trade Agreement 1, where we allowed finished good imports at zero duty. If you look at prior to 96, entire wireline revolution in India was based on CDOT technology, whereas the wireless revolution of GSM CDMA is all by Huawei, ZTE, Alcatel, Lucent, Nokia, and Ericsson. So same thing happened with consumer electronics. Earlier, we used to have Videocon, BPL, Onida as local brands. And then post 96, we have all Samsung, LG, Sony coming in. And same thing happened even with the PC industry and means we used to manufacture PC motherboard at HCL, PCL, Altos. And then it was all Asus Tech and Gigabyte from Taiwan or PCs from Dell, HP and Acer. So it happened because we signed WTO agreement and we allowed electronic import at zero duty. And on top of it, we have signed free trade agreement, FTA, with countries like Thailand and Vietnam, where imports from those countries will be at zero duty. So these are the challenges we have only created for ourselves. And now we cannot put import duty or import barriers. So we have to have soft barriers like standards, like incentives for local manufacturing. And that's what we are doing.
That's I agree, Sanjeev sir. But the problem is here, like it's not about a WTO or like trade agreements here. It's all about like these are license banned, and it's owned by government. All these carrier pay a hell lot of money to get this license banned. Why, without proper standard, why any kind of company can come to India and use these banned to sell their product? I mean, how many products?
No, I agree with you on this point. Absolutely agree on this point. And there has to be some standards, BIS standards or some standards. If any global company wants to ship those wireless products or any specific band products, sub gigahertz or anything, there has to be some qualifying criteria to ship those products. I agree with you.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to take much time, but that was my
Thanks.
story.
Any last question, please?
No, that's the only thing. I mean, I'm settled in US for more than like 12 years now, working in this wireless industry, like currently working on 5G, all the stuff. And all my folks and all my friends are very excited to go back India and start this business. And we do have a lot of work in India, mostly on testing. We do work with Qualcomm, Intel, ST, and NXP. But again, there's mostly in the support. The only challenge what we see, like people are not really ready to adapt like our home brands. So and there are a lot of opportunity. Everyone talking about, like, if you go and read about ITS, they're talking about eCall, they're talking about V2X, V2I, all sort of things on papers. But they also talking about the IS 140, I guess, the telematic system, the panic button, but all the papers. If someone get excited like me, and tomorrow I come to India and put like $1 million investment, it goes nowhere. Like, I know a lot of companies, not a lot of, couple of companies start working on this new satellite system and I 140, but they barely, get their
No, sir,
money
I think situation is going to change. I understand what frustration we all went through, but I hope situation is definitely going to change. And with even global companies walking out of China, I think we are going to have a very big opportunity. I'm very optimistic that next 10 years belongs to India when it comes to embedded electronics.
So it's I would say actually I would say to relate. So normally, as a common name, we common practice, we say, right, like not only in India, really, you go to any country, you would say, right, like our government is not doing this thing, right, like, so it's there everywhere, sir, basically. But like as you were speaking about the standards for the other frequencies, so there are BIS standards which has been coming up mainly for these IoT applications and the smart city applications. Maybe like you can write to us, and then like we share a couple of committees who are working on those, and then those standards can be shared to you, basically.
No, I mean, see, I still hold a company in India, and we kind of import wearables and telematic solutions from different part of the world, like Taiwan, China. But we have seen these BI standard for battery, and this they just take all the spurious emission report from some Chinese lab. Okay, just staple it together and just go. No one goes and literally do the kind of testing that's required. If you have to ship a product in North America and Europe, it's very stringent. Even go to Korea, go to Japan, any country. Just
maybe like
if anyone has.
Yeah. So
anyone else has any other question?
I think.
Yeah. My name is Achyutan. Hello. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
I am calling from Chennai. See, we are.
Sorry, we can't hear you.
Okay. We have a shortage of hardware engineers in our country. Hardware engineers. Most of the guys for the past 10 years, we are promoting IT companies, and those guys switch on to hardware. So how do we solve the problem? Because when suppose we want to take over from China, it's very difficult. I'm from IIT Madras, so I'm an experienced person. So I'm talking with a lot of feeling only. Okay, yeah, please.
So yeah, we missed in between you, but does your question is about getting good hardware engineers?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, that opportunities have to be there. Means if there are good opportunities, good challenging work, I'm very sure engineers will move from IT industry as their priority to embedded hardware design industry. In fact, when I used to visit some of the engineering colleges, students used to complain that we are studying electronics engineering, but we don't have job opportunities, and we are forced to go to software development in IT industry. So I think now with all these initiatives driven by government, opportunities lies in front of us. Uh, I am very confident that the young bright students who are passing out will have opportunities in our field, and they will definitely get attracted to join these opportunities because they will have option. I think till 2 years back they were having very limited options.
Recently, I happened to interview some guys with a BTech B. Then they some guys did not even know OMSRA. They said they have forgotten OMSRA, electrical engineer. So how do you expect this guy to? That is the situation today.
Yes, sir. I truly agree about the gap, but like slowly, as this technology has been growing, basically, now there. I'm just speaking with my experience because I hold this hardware company. We are a embedded motherboard manufacturing company, right? Like so today, I hold a 42 people team over Bangalore. Now we are designing a couple of products. For our partners using our SOMs or SOCs by partners. Sir, no doubt the basic gap is growing. But at the same time, it also with the interest of the engineers or the students, I believe. But one very useful way or like the approach which has came now because of these IoT and all, at least kids, if they don't even understand the basics, they are able to jump to the system level. See, there is two different things, engineering from the core or building a system. So now when you see really this today's world, IoT or whatever, people are the first focus of the engineers is to solve the problem rather than equipping them with the all the basic knowledge. So now from the background what you came, you are expecting a deep knowledge. I agree that like you pointed the basic knowledge, many times it lags, but there are the opportunities where the system building knowledge is becoming the primary, and wherein which those things are now enabling because of this IoT and all. Now the students are rarely bothered about what is the power supply. Even I'm giving to a Arduino board or to a Raspberry Pi, but he is able to build a face recognition system and happily serve your COVID related product in a week or two, basically, right? So now where the credit goes? Do you criticize him for not knowing the basics, or do you appreciate him to building a system? So yes, there is a gap, but I think slowly, as Sanjeev sir told, the opportunities, with the growing of opportunities, people will again come back to our electronics. I'm a MSc electronic guy. I know the hardcore feeling of yours. So we can
without
take
knowing,
it offline. A couple of
without knowing 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, how do you expect somebody to do integration? Somebody doesn't know 2 plus 2. You expect him to put the integration, mug up something and vomit. Is that what you expect? That's what is happening. People go to some electronic markets, purchase. When you go to the market, they will ask, what do you want, BTech project or diploma project? Or I was told somebody is writing the PhD thesis also. So there are guys set up in Chennai who will do PhD paperwork. I have done research. I know how difficult it is to publish a paper. But there are guys employed permanently to research, to put some research publication. They will take up from many research publications.
Yeah, I agree, sir. Any other question?
Sir, we will take it offline. We will take it offline. It is an interesting discussion. It will take long time. I think Sanjeev sir, one question was related to Open Lab. I think Soma, they can connect to Soma sir or like someone from your
What I have
team.
done, I have shared my email ID, I have shared my mobile number as well as the website for IoT Open Lab, and people can register to IoT Open Lab any day. And we are going to have a bi-weekly or monthly meeting of program committee to select the startups to work in IoT Open Lab. So you can apply on the link which I have shared.
And Sanjeev sir, one request, maybe like a couple of your FAEs can propose us some technical sessions for future things. Even in parallel to open discussions, we are also starting from this week technical sessions. So it would be more for the engineers and motivation of the engineering problem, what we have been discussing. I think today more engineering problems we have been discussing. So probably we can schedule a couple of technical, mainly some application notes in medical or industrial industry 4.0 or smart cities.
Sure, Mr. Vasu,
you
you can work on the agenda with Soma. He has an excellent team. So we'll be happy to support. Absolutely.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, as rightly said, we can do that. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you for the time. Yeah, it was great. Thank you to all.